So hello everyone, let's discuss lesson 4 of physical geography. We know longitudes. Longitudes is the region behind the change in dates and the time between the northern and southern, between the eastern and the western countries. So we had already discussed the change in time variation between eastern and western countries. Now let's discuss the dates. The variation in dates. We all know that in the northern hemisphere, the day is we are one day ahead uh, from the western countries, because we know sun. We let's say this is sun and this is the eastern part of the country. So sunlight will first falls on the eastern part of the world. And also it will take 24 hours for the earth to rotate completely, so western country will get sunlight after 24 hours and the eastern country will get before 24 hours. So almost one day variation is there, that is eastern countries are one day ahead from the western countries. Now the reference longitudinal line which is taken for this date is the 180-degree longitude, and the country. So we assume that the sunlight first falls on these points, and after that it moves towards the western countries. That is when Earth rotates from west to east, then sunlight falls on later western country. So we see that at this 180-degree latitude, when the here is 29th December, then at B point, that is western country, it is 28th December, and when here it is 30th December, then here it is 29th December. So this is the main reason for the variation of date in the on the earth. So if we move from USA to India, we know India is in the eastern part and USA in the western part. So India is ahead of one day. So if we move from USA to India, then we need to add one date. And if we move from India to USA, then we need to subtract one date. So this is the reference line for date, that is 180-degree longitude. And we see all those things that I had already explained here. And baseline is 180-degree longitude, and here we see that the reference line, that is 180-degree longitude. This is standard longitude, 180-degree longitude. This can, if we move towards the west of this line, then we need to add a date. If we move towards east of this line, then we need to subtract a date. And also this has to, it is mainly passes through, and this can decide this line will decide the country, means the time, the date. So this mainly passes through the oceans, so that if it crosses through a land, then the left of it will be, that is the west of it will be one day ahead, and right of it, that is east of it, will be one day behind. So if it passes through the same country, then the same country will have two dates in a single date, on a single day. So it passes through then these are all the things that is bearing a straight ideal line, 180-degree longitude. So if someone crosses ideal towards west, that is we need to add a date, but we actually add a date, so we lost our day, one day. And if we move towards east of this, then we actually gained a date, but we need to subtract the date. So longitude mainly decides the time and the date. So this was all about that. Now coming to seasonality. Seasonality means change in the season, and it mainly depends on the latitudes. So we know that motion of Earth happens in two ways. First motion, that Earth rotates on its axis, that is north-south axis, from west to east direction. This is one motion. And second motion of the Earth is towards the orbit, that is along the orbit, that is around the sun. So one rotation of Earth on its axis take 24 hours, but it actually is 23 hours 56 minutes and 4 seconds. And one revolution of Earth that is along the orbit around the sun is around, actually it is 365 days and 23 hours 56 minutes 48 minutes, sorry, 23 365 days and 365 days 5 hours and 48 minutes, that is 365 days and 6 hours. So after every 4 year it is a leap year of 366 days. So rotation is the region for the occurrence of day and night and circle of illumination. Seasonality, let's see. हेलो, क्या करने जाओगे? चलो तुम जाओ, देखो हम जाते हैं थोड़ी देर अपना। So after this, this is and the revolution and seasonality and the change in length of day and night depends on the revolution. So now let's discuss the concept of circle of illumination. Let's take example of a football. From one side of the football, if we just show the light from one side, then from one side it will be bright and from one side it will be dark. The point which decides the which separates the dark and the bright side is called the circle of illumination. So as we rotate the football, the circle of illumination will continuously change. So this circle of illumination is a imaginary line which separates this darker and the lighter side. Same is the case for the earth, like we consider the torch as the sun and the football as the earth. So now let's see this. This is the revolution of the earth around the sun. Now we can say season as the temperature, measuring the temperature as average, maximum, minimum, etc. So now let's say this is sun, this is earth. Now sunlight will fall on the earth, so the earth part which will be very near to the sun will get the maximum temperature, and the part which is very far from the sun will get the minimum temperature. Now this is sun, this is earth. If earth is located like this, 1 minute. So if shape of earth is like this, then equator point only. So if the shape of earth is like this, then if the earth whether rotates or revolve around the sun, no matter, but the intensity of sunlight will fall maximum at the equator and minimum at the poles, and it will be always as the earth rotates like this. But this is not the case because our earth is tilted by 23.5 degree. So this is the actual shape of the earth, that is earth is tilted by 23.5 degree. So this is the equator, along the equator this is the equator, and this is north, above it is north and below is north. Now when the earth rotates, then all the areas will be exposed to the sun, and depends on that the seasonality varies, that is the season changes. So here it is given that sunlight, here the sunlight is maximum, that is maximum sunlight falls in the southern hemisphere of the earth. So here in southern hemisphere it will be summer season, and in the northern hemisphere it will be winter season, and the day and night usually happens since the earth will rotate along its north south axis, so there is no problem. And here we can see that when the earth reaches in this side, then the northern hemisphere is exposed to sun and southern hemisphere is away from the sun. So there is summer in northern hemisphere and winter in summer hemisphere, southern hemisphere. So this is all about the seasonality. Now talking about the autumn and the spring season. So the hemisphere which goes from winter to summer, in between there is a spring season. Suppose currently there is winter in northern hemisphere, Now, if northern hemisphere moves from winter to summer, then in between it is spring season, and if moves from summer to winter season, then in between there is autumn season. So these are the same things, but it is different for both the hemisphere. So the seasonality, that is change in season, and the length of day and nights mainly depends on revolution plus the tiltation of the earth. Without tiltation, this seasonality is not possible. So this is all about it.